Ezra Klein tweeted this out today. I imagine in response to the kind of feedback that he'd been getting from people like Sam, among others. And I'll zoom in so everybody can see.
I wonder if this is like directly in response to the clip that we just posted of Sam Cedar, I would guess. Because that dropped, on, I think, Friday? This is posted Sunday morning. That clip has been gaining steam. It's doing pretty well. You know what I'm saying? Not to pat ourselves on the back. Obviously, Sam did the heavy lifting in that clip. He was the one that really went scorched earth and unloaded on Ezra and all of this bullshit. But yeah, that's pretty hilarious. It almost seems like a direct response.
Yep, it's either that or David Dayen, who was also going after Ezra Klein. But I imagine it's a combination of the two things. We definitely played a little bit of a role in that. He says, many of my more leftist friends and frenemies have pushed me on whether abundance has a theory of power. I often say it does, but they're not going to like it. And that's in part because it's a theory of power is liberal rather than populist. He says, my point of view is more classically liberal, which means conservative. In this book, Liberalism, The Life of an Idea, in his book, Edmund Fawcett describes it neatly. Human power was implacable. I could never be relied on to behave well, whether political, economic, or social superior power of some people over others tend to inevitably to be. This is such bullshit.
Thanks for the quote, bro.
Yeah. I'm like, fucking A. One, I don't even know the word implacable, but I'm really a fucking nervous to
implacable.
Implaceable? Is
that what it is? Implacable?
I feel like I'm a pretty sharp guy, but you guys had a field day with us because we didn't know what.
Ezra Klein is somewhere laughing and saying, These idiots, these ignoramuses they can't even contend with my vocabulary, let alone understand my arguments.
They had no idea what a loss leader was. Feed me my crumpets. Anyway, so he has this whole spiel that he gets out where Kyle chimes in and he says, if you can't see that at this point, the two enemies are the billionaires and fascists, then you're never going to see it. Come on my show and debate this. The Abundance Welcome Fest was a union bashing, left bashing bonanza. If you were principled, you'd be calling them out for that. Boom. Mic drop, Kyle. I can't wait. I hope Ezra takes him up on it.
Yep, 100%. Again, I thought that Sam did a good job in their conversation, but even he admitted he wasn't really able to slay the dragon. He wasn't truly able to get the job done in that debate. I think there's a chance Kyle could come in and get the job done. Also, if you don't mind throwing that up on screen real quick one more time, Zach, you will notice that tweet got 2.8 thousand likes. Last I checked, that one's at 1.9 thousand. The original Ezra Klein post, 1.9 thousand likes. So he got brutally ratioed by Kyle Kulinski, not only being called out, but also, challenged to a debate on Secular Talk or Krystal Kyle and Friends. I think that would be amazing. Obviously, it would be great for us to react to, great content, but they're great debaters. Kyle Kulinski and Crystal Ball are both powerhouse debaters, but they don't flex that muscle enough. I wish that both of them would debate more because every time they do it, they kick ass. Remember when Crystal Ball went on Bill Maher and she went viral, just totally embarrassing him?
Viral too.
Yeah, it went viral again like a couple weeks ago. Also, Kyle, the last time he was on Piers Morgan, totally destroyed. I think even got Piers Morgan to agree with him and basically admit that what Kyle was saying was on point. I also wanted to show this real quick because, the abundance thing is sort of tricky. I think that there's some decent kind of points made occasionally by the abundance people. It's not like it's total hogwash on its face, but when you see the people that are associated with this movement, I think it becomes clear very quickly what its true purpose is. And I think no better example of that than Richie Torres. And just look how many tweets this guy has about abundance. If you search for it, he's talking about the abundance movement. The answer is not Doge, it is abundance. The American golden age of economic productivity growth coincided with higher rates of unionization. The notion that labor and abundance are opposing values is a historical falsehood. So he's basically acting like he's the third co-author of this shit. And you see this from other super corporate neoliberal candidates and, politicians in the Democratic Party. At the heart of the abundance movement is a government that builds. There's nothing more pro-labor than building. When the government builds, it's putting the bill. It's just such bullshit, cliche vagaries. It's so stupid. And again, I think nothing says more about this abundance crap than the high-profile Democratic politicians that are most associated with it, like Richie Torres.
Oh yeah, and I thought that Sam hit the nail on the head when he talks about how this is actually like a very old school Republican line of thinking. Like what the Democrats have essentially done is they have decided to pick up the like pre-Reagan Republican Party playbook. This is what people were trying to get after. When they said classical liberalism back in the day, that was actually something that the Conservative Party was pushing for. It was before the time of just like rank austerity at all costs, but it was kind of like this Mitt Romney style of politics where it was like, okay, I am very, very pro austerity, but there are some things that I'm willing to allow the government to do. That's why Mitt Romney was associated with the Affordable Care Act way before Barack Obama was associated with it. It came from his think tank, all that kind of stuff.
Romney Care.
Exactly. That is what this kind of politics represent. And that's why I think it's crazy that Ezra has the gall to come out here and pretend that he is a progressive when he knows he's a smart guy. He is lying to you. He knows that this is essentially a rebrand, and it's been done by the Democratic Party before. It was the exact same thing that Bill Clinton did. Oh, we're the new Democrats. It's the economy, stupid. We're going to make sure that things get built. We're going to make sure that we do it the third way, Democrats. Okay, it's just recycled horseshit, and it's not going to work. We know it's not going to work because they're not mentioning words like oligarchy in their book. They're not mentioning things like rent control in their book. They're talking about how, oh, if we just let corporations get away with a little bit more, it's going to trickle back down to you guys, and houses are going to be more affordable again. That's not what's going to happen. BlackRock's going to buy up every single good house and leave the shitty vulnerable to, climate change or ecological disaster or airborne poison from a factory. Those will be the homes that you can buy. The ones that were made like shit, like a 3D printer did the job.
Yep, 100%. And if we actually, examine his dumbass statement here, I think that the ideology pretty quickly just falls apart because he's basically saying that, like, to take this view means power will be ill used by your friends as well as your enemies, by your political opponents as well as your neighbors. From this perspective, there are no safe reservoirs of power. Corporations sometimes serve the national interest and sometimes betray it. The same is true for governments, for unions, for churches, and for nonprofits. So he's basically saying, like, it's not a good idea to have this anti-oligarch, anti-corporate message that people like Bernie Sanders and AOC, the anti-oligarch folks, are really embracing. He's saying, no. It's not just the corporate oligarchs that are the problem. It's also sometimes the unions. Sometimes it's the nonprofits. Sometimes it's the government itself. These are all, they all hold equal potential to be bad. And yeah, obviously there are issues where the union leadership, doesn't vote the right way or doesn't, come down on an issue the right way. Obviously there are examples where you could point to that being the case, but I think it's ridiculous to abandon that overarching narrative, that message that, yeah, it's corporate America that's making this country worse. It's the billionaires, it's the oligarchs making this country work. I think it's ridiculous to say we should abandon that. It clearly resonates with people. It already has massively resonated with people, specifically in the age of Elon Musk and Trump 2.0. To say we should sort of water that down and be like, oh, it's actually more nuanced than that. Sometimes it's the unions that are at fault. Sometimes we should blame the fucking nonprofits. Nah, I think it's actually a better message that the American people will understand and resonate with, despite the admitted nuance that, yeah, fuck corporate America. They're the issue. They're ruining this country. They gutted your Main Street. They sent your fucking job to Mexico. And now they're employing undocumented people for $4 an hour, driving down your wages as well. Like, that's obviously the fucking issue. Point it out to people. Don't water it down with all this needless technocratic bullshit.
Oh, 100%. And you can tell that they're not interested in learning. You can tell that they're not interested in progress. If we scroll back down really quickly, he talks about Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, two historically unpopular Democrats in the time that they needed to be popular, right? Like, they didn't meet the moment. Like, people have a lot of love for Barack Obama because of optics, but not because of his policies, right? Like, I'll talk about how Barack Obama was a great orator and statesman. He had that going for him. But from a policy standpoint, from a positioning standpoint, which is what Ezra Klein is referencing here, it was dog shit. It was rank neo-corporatism, and they actually represent a downward slide for the Democratic Party, right? We know that Bill Clinton came and passed all of the bills that George H.W. Bush and Ronald Reagan could only dream of, okay? They did NAFTA, right? They got rid of the law that made it so that banks had to be separated. You used to not be able to be an investment bank and a bank that holds people's money. Now you can do both because they overruled the law that prohibited it. right? They did all kinds of stuff. Then Barack Obama comes around and he gets more Wall Street money for the first time than the Republican Party. It was historic. It was unmatched. Nobody could believe it that this guy actually got more money than John McCain from Wall Street. It was a critical point. And a fork in the road for the Democratic Party. They went down that direction. Ezra has no critique of this. He has no way of addressing the fact that a million people lost their homes under Barack Obama. He has no, it's supposedly the guy that cares about people being in homes. A million people lost their fucking home under Barack Obama. Okay, 2.3 million jobs were offshored under Barack Obama. We went from 2 wars to 7 wars under Barack Obama. Do I need to continue? He deported more people than George Bush under Barack Obama, right?
Yep. And also, yeah, you can say that Clinton and Obama were the two most successful Democrats of the past 50 years. Guess what Clinton's era led to? George Bush. Guess what Obama's era led to? Donald Trump. So, yeah, it's kind of undermined by that inconvenient fact, Ezra. We actually need a serious politician that's, popular enough to sustain more than just his own term, to actually usher in a new era of social democratic policies, much like FDR did, right? That's what we fucking need, not just this flimsy bullshit to, pacify people with civility and charisma for 8 years, only to then let in the most fascist piece of shit ever, elected just right after you're on your way out. So either way, pretty interesting stuff. It's super funny that Ezra Klein got absolutely destroyed and ratioed in the comments by Kyle Kulinski of Secular Talk. Really hoping that debate happens. Obviously, we'll keep you guys updated on that. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for any updates on this beef, because Ezra Klein, obviously I've never been a fan of his necessarily, but I do think he's really kind of stepped into the ring as a real foe of the left. He's really doubling down on this kind of neoliberal garbage and is, again, stepping into the ring, ready to box a little bit with prominent lefties. We already seen him take on Sam Cedar. Let's hope Kyle Kulinski is next. Like I said, we'll keep you guys updated on that.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there. Be there.